Hey traders, this is Christian from Hertz, Tribeca Trade Group with your end of day recap for Thursday. Another, I would call it chop fest for today. We really didn't move at all besides, what we've been seeing the last couple days, which is a little bit of a sell program that comes in right at the open and then things kind of stabilize. A little bit different price action than we saw yesterday. Yesterday it was the first hour and a half where we saw some selling pressure, and then the selling pressure was done. That selling program was done, and we saw a grind back. Today was kind of a little bit more choppy. Again, same thing in the morning, and then after that, the selling subsided, and then we had a headline that came in late in the afternoon that brought us down a little bit lower. So, first things first, I see this a lot going on Twitter right now. People talking about, we just kind of turn back to the S&P and how it's not moving. Guys, this is not a shocker at all. We put this in our newsletter. This is something that I've been talking about for the last couple weeks. It's like all of a sudden people are surprised that the S&P isn't moving. Guys, this has been happening the last 3 earnings cycles. There's nothing different about this. Look at October. Look at November, and then excuse me, not November, January. Look at for the majority of January, it looks like we started to rise right after that, but you could see the same type of pattern materialize. So if we go to January on my live chart, this is exactly what has happened, what transpired in the last couple earnings cycles. I mean, look at it. The same exact pattern here, where we did not do anything all through earnings season back in January. So it doesn't happen this way every single time because there are other, this is in a vacuum. There are other events that happen, but you could see the last earnings cycle back in January. Of course, there was one in April too, which had similar, but we didn't move for about 2 weeks. If you go back to what we're doing right now, whoops, and let me just switch this out, and then I'll make my point here. So you go back to what we're doing now. It looks very very similar to a consolidation, possibly before making another leg higher. So one of the things that we've been doing in the trading room is talking about. Where's April? Here's April. So first couple of weeks in April, same type of thing. Maybe a little bit more volatility. The other thing is, before I go into what we've been doing in the trading room, you look at the VIX, right? People are like, oh my God, why isn't the VIX is still at 1044? What does the VIX measure? It measures what the expected volatility is in the next month. When the S&P, it doesn't measure other things like the Qs. It doesn't measure oil. It measures what the implied volatility is for S&P. And if we're not moving, if we haven't moved in the last 10 days, even further, if you go back and look at if you look at SPY, and if you look at the changes, we haven't had a day where we moved over 25 basis points since what? Since back on 719. So this is why this is why the VIX is at a 10, because we're not moving. And it doesn't right now. The VIX is not anticipating a further move. So, you know, again, that's the environment that we're in. I think you just want to be patient. I was talking about what you can kind of do. I think a lot of people stay very focused on the momentum names, and they're like, hey, and they're over trading. They're over trading because they're looking for momentum where it's not there. So, case in point, Amazon, right? This thing is at the 50-day moving average. It just kind of broke the 50-day moving average. It does have support, I think, right? This is the bottom of the value area, so this is nice support. So for those who don't have the value area indicator on their screen, 984.5, that's the level that you want to watch. Now, I'm not ready to buy Amazon yet. I'm waiting for some type of confirmation. There's no reason to jump in when nobody else is right now. So look for a little bit of confirmation. Look for it to reclaim one of these red bars. I would say at least this bar, 999. When I'm really watching, and I have an alert set at 1002. So that's the beauty of the technology and trading systems nowadays is, listen, I don't need to watch this on a 5-minute bar all day long. Just set an alert where you're interested in it, and your alert's going to go off and it's going to tell you that there's a little bit of buying going on. So because I see this over and over, like people trying to day trade something and like, oh, I'm going to go long, I'm going to go long here for a bounce in Amazon. The momentum is just not there right now. Could it show up tomorrow? Sure, and I have my alert to catch it. It's the same thing at Google. People are staring at their screens all day long, and this is going on, and it's the same thing. You've got very similar looking picture. You've got support right down here at 929. I have my alert set at, I think, 950. So 10 bucks higher. Again, I'd rather be a little bit late and correct than wrong and early. All right, so, or early and wrong, if I said that backwards. So there are other things that are moving. Look at 3M today. Big move up in 3M today. Honeywell. So it just seems like, I've talked about how there was a big inflow into the industrial ETF the other day. There's been a lot of outflows in the healthcare space. So there's just money being rotated around a little bit. So it doesn't seem like there's a lot of new money being put to work at all. It looks like there's money being taken out on a net basis from what we're seeing, like these sell programs in the beginning of the day. But there are things that are being bought here. I mean, Honeywell making a 52-week high today. And you start to see that, we were looking at the, what I've been kind of showing in the morning is that look at the big liquidation that happened in the medical devices group. This has been the best performer out of the healthcare space this year. And there's been a lot of profit taking going on the last couple weeks. Now you can see today, what's the one thing that was different about today? Looks like the seller is done. Look at the volume compared to the last week. So, you look at what's in this ETF, and it's Medtronic, it's Abbott. Abbott had real good earnings. EW had real good earnings as well. So, remember what trading is about, right? It's about buying the dip in something. So, especially when something gets liquidated, like this group has been the last couple of days, kind of let it subside, let the seller finish, and let the dust settle, and you're going to have some buying opportunities. There's a couple names that really started to perk up at the end of the day. My colleague Pat kind of pointed this out. ISRG maybe found a footing here. Didn't close on the highs because of that overall volatility, but EW also had a nice green bar, overtook some levels here in Edward Life Sciences. So this group kind of waking up a little bit again after this big seller. Looks like they may be done with this trade, but same thing. There's a lot of other spaces that are seeing some upside momentum, but it's you have to be just very picky and not go into things when there's no momentum in them yet, right? I mean, I think people get very focused. Traders get very focused on the same watch list. And if you're going to be just look at the same names over and over, then I think you have to sit on your hands because there's not always going to be momentum in those same names every day. There's going to be different things that go on. The option activity today, very dismal, I would say. There was a lot of interesting puts, I thought, that continue to kind of show up. There's a couple of the weekly stuff, which I stay away from in this environment. Why do I stay away from weeklies in this environment? Because there's no momentum in the tape. So there's really no point in trading a lot of weekly stuff, which I don't really trade a lot anyway. Yandex, I talked about this trade earlier. So again, another name that's pulled back. If you remember, they had this big gap up, and it's come back in. So it's come back into support, the 50-day moving average. This is 2 days in a row now that we've seen Yandex activity. Yesterday, we saw the November 29 calls that were purchased outright. I checked the open interest, that increased open interest. And then today, we saw even more aggressive. We saw calls that were bought versus puts that were sold. So this is what I really look for. When you see a call buyer and they're so confident that they're going to sell puts to kind of make it into a synthetic stock position, I really like that they're going out. They're giving themselves some time, but they're looking for Yandex to possibly make a new high here. Again, kind of it's had some time to digest their earnings report. And this is a name that is right into support and an upward trending 50-day moving average. So that's my second favorite trade of the day. I already put out a trade idea video on NSE. Love this trade. Did not put it on because it hit right after or right before the bell today, but really like that trade. And then there's been some buying in some defense names, some Raytheon, some COL, which had a real nice day as well. We talked about names that are showing momentum. I mean, look at this thing. Huge momentum. Unfortunately, I did not catch this one. I did not participate in it, I should say. Caught it, just didn't trade it. GD is another name that I am in right now. It's kind of grinding back since earnings. Put this on right on the lows, so doing okay. And then Raytheon, 52-week high. I believe in Raytheon as well. So, you just have to kind of be able to pivot onto some different areas if you're not used to trading these things, and if you're just looking at the FANG stocks, it's you're going to have very long days of just waiting for momentum to come back in. It cycles through, but right now we're not. It's money's not cycling back into these guys for the time being. All right, so that's it for today's video. Have a great night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.